star this season. Tonight, he showed the world what he could do.
My God, a freshman.
An extra gear for the freshman. Touchdown. And the freshman is off. Foot race. They're looking at shoe bottoms and nothing else. Into the end zone. Touchdown. The freshman just ran it back to Philadelphia.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the Future Freshmen Podcast. Welcome back to episode 11. We have a very special episode 11 as we are going to do some drafting, and that is a freshman mock draft here for CFF Dynasty. And, of course, I brought on two very special guests. Let me start off with number one. He's always chasing the Natty, and his team just got one this past year. He is my fearless leader for the CFF team over at Campus of Canton. It's Mr. Jared Palmgren. You can find him at Twitter at CFF_Jared. Jared, welcome to the Future Freshmen Podcast. Welcome back, sir.
Hey man, it's always a pleasure to be on one of your shows, Brandon. I love coming around here, and I'm really happy that we're able to finally do one of these freshman CFF Dynasty mock drafts. It's not something that people tend to be given as content throughout the season. I know several people who have reached out to me over the past year and said, "Hey, like all this redraft stuff's great, but like I'm in a Dynasty league and we got nothing right now. Is there anything that you're going to be able to put out?" Well, here we are, y'all. And I'll go ahead and plug this upcoming week's CTN episode as well, because it's almost going to serve as a part two to this one. Here we're going to be covering freshmen. I have Josh Chevalier coming on this upcoming week, and we're going to talk supplemental players. Talk about some of the guys out there that you can pick up that are already in starting lineups that you can probably go ahead and pick up for yourselves. So between this and that one, you're going to be set in your Dynasty leagues in these upcoming months where you're going to be doing your supplemental drafts.
Absolutely. I'm so excited that people are finally getting this kind of content out. I know I've been clamoring for it for years now. And my other guest, I decided we got the band back together from the old CFFU podcast. And, of course, he is a CFF National Champion. He's an OG. He's also the Hitman, and that is Mr. Ace Holds himself, Mitch the Hitman Hardt. How are you doing today, buddy?
Every day's a great day to be Mitch. How are you guys doing? I'm just glad to be with two professionals. I feel like I'm Bobby Jones in the 1920s. I didn't accept checks. I didn't make any money off my sport like you guys do. So good for you. It's just I'm glad to be a little part of what you guys do. You guys have done really good work, and I'll call out Jared's CTN episodes. I listen to those while I'm on my Peloton. And nice. I can hear you get your voice. And I'm a sales trainer. I talk to people about finding their voice and how so much content is really just lyrics to a song. And it's how you present that information to your followers, to the people that subscribe to you, that to me makes someone different than someone else. And Jared, I'm not just saying this. I can hear your voice coming out. You're getting better and better at what you do.
Appreciate it. I definitely listened back to my first episode of Chasing the Natty back in March of last year, and I definitely am like, oof.
I actually saw
stick around.
That's good. I actually was on YouTube, and how it does the recommended. And I was like, it was the first episode with Xavier and Jared. I was like, man, he's come so far, dude. It was pretty awesome to see. So I'm glad to have you both on. It's always good when the band gets back together, and we could put these great minds to the test. We're going to do a little freshman mock draft. But before we do, we got a little bit of housekeeping to knock out, so let's knock that out first. Of course, you can visit the brand new, sexy-looking Campus to Canton website. Of course, everything is there as well. Tools, ADP, rankings. Of course, the memberships are there for you to sign up. Excellent articles as well. So, of course, if you're looking for the stock up, stock down after the spring games, we have our guy, CFF Nate. Of course, Nate Marquise, he has got that available. Please go check that out. Always love reading those. It just has a mind for the game and has been doing it for years. So I really, really do respect what Nate has to say when it comes to his perspective. So please go check that out. Also, real quick, I want to sling it over to Jared because this new tool, and of course that is the predictor tool that's going on, is a game changer. So Jared, real quick, I got to see the behind the scenes with the spreadsheet stuff like that, but explain not the formula in general, just the thought process and how it kind of came to be real quick before we move on.
Yeah, I had this idea about a year ago where I was like, it'd be really, really cool if people could just like have a better idea of when they should reach on a player versus when they are able to wait another round and maybe get some value out of ADP. And so I basically did some research, and it's actually when I was researching for my graduate research year that I stumbled across this mathematical formula known as Weibull analysis. It's typically used for like asset management and stuff like that. But now I kind of took out some of the variables you typically see with it. And I'm like, hey, this could apply to mock drafts. Wait a minute, this is exactly what I've been looking for. And so now you are able to go in on the Campus website and use the draft predictor tool. And you can select what type of league you want it to be, because we have ADP for C2C, CFF, and Devy leagues. So you can pick what type of league you want to use it for. And you can choose a player. And then you just put in what the current pick that is being picked right now. So say you're like several rounds into the mock already, or into the draft already. Say you're in like the 3rd round, 4th pick, and you want to know if a guy is still going to be available to you in the 4th round, like 3rd pick or something like that. You can enter in all that information. It'll provide you the percent chance that they will be available and the percent chance that they will already be taken. Those two just kind of are inverses of each other. So as one goes up, the other one will go down, stuff like that. Also, you can also see there's a graph underneath that also shows like how, like if, because the percentages change as the draft goes on, but you can also get an idea of just like how likely it was that a player even reached that point. So like I just took Josh Downs in like the 3rd round, 9th pick, and I immediately thought to myself, I'm like, whoa, value. I'm like, this felt like crazy value. He never falls this late. And so I went to the draft predictor tool, and in the graph underneath, it said that if I put in the 3-9 pick as like my pick, and it said that it would have been like a 0.5% chance that he would make it in a typical draft to that point. So I'm like, that's crazy. I got some insane value right there. So it's just, you can use it in all sorts of ways. And I'm really glad we were able to finally get it out there for you guys.
Yep. All the more reason to check out the website. I know I used it for a couple best balls. I don't know if Mitch, you've been able to test it yet or use it on some best ball stuff that you've done yet. But fantastic. I really do love it. And I love seeing the percentages, especially what you talked about, getting Josh Downs at 3.09. That's ridiculously good value. So that's the stuff you remember, and the tool can kind of help you with that. So definitely go check out the website. And a great segue, because we do have the Devy guide that's coming out here pretty shortly. Of course, that is available on 6/1/2022, so June 1st. It'll be $20, or if you're an NIL yearly subscriber, it's available the day of launch, and it'll be sent to your email. So, of course, our boy here, Mitch, is going to have a brand spanking new right there in his email for him, so he'll have it available. All the analysis is tier-based ranks over 250 of the top Devy players. The Devy guide's intended to help any of your managers do their drafts. Now, Devy is, sitting long-term, so instead of C2C, as far as being able to play both sides in that same year, you're pretty much waiting on these guys to come into the NFL roster. That's really the main differences, but this made famous by our friend Scott Fish there, who does the Scott Fish Bowl. He's the one that made this notorious. But the guys here at C2C, and a great team, of course, Corey and his crew there, Mike and a few others. I know Austin and Colin have also been working on it as well. So they use, just to, give you a heads up, of course, they use the team website. If they can't, they go to 24/7 Sports. They use the raw statistics that come from sportsreference.com, which is one of my favorite websites to go and check out CFP stuff, especially when I got to go see how Lamar Jackson did when he was on my fantasy team. And I was like, I want to remember the glory days. And so I got to see some of those yards. So it was good to check out the sports reference on there as well. And then, of course, the rest of the metrics come from all our mocks and stuff like that. Of course, you see Jared doing CFF. You see, PJ doing things like Devy, or doing, C2C ones. KeepsTheCan.com has it for you. And, of course, PFF.com has some pretty cool metrics as well. Now, with that, the CFF guide is coming up next. So, Jared, what can we expect to see from the CFF guide, in the shadows after the Devy guide here?
You're going to see so much work put into it. It's going to be crazy. We're going to be breaking down all 131 teams in FBS, and we're going to have a litany of different authors who are going to be bringing those to you. It's not going to be one person writing 130 different write-ups. Good Lord. I don't think we can pay that person enough. But again, we're going to be breaking down. Each one's going to have a depth chart. We're going to give you just a 2020 preview of where the team is at, what we can expect out of them, what players you might be looking at on each of their teams. In addition to that, we will be breaking down the top players at every position in those drafts. They're going to have a short blurb along with it, and it will include stats like what their ECR is compared to their ADP, their stats from last year. We haven't decided yet if we're going to be doing projections of any kind this upcoming year. We are still kind of debating that, whether or not that'll be included. But even still, you're going to have it broken down both from a team perspective, because in CFF, it's system. You are also going to have a breakdown of each of the individual players that we expect to be the biggest players for CFF this year.
Yep. So definitely be looking on that. To be determined as far as launch date, but I'm sure you'll be seeing it soon enough. So be ready for all your NL subscribers. I know you guys will be looking forward to it. Also, shout out to the people that have done the cover. I know a certain lady in our group did a fantastic job. So shout out to Hannah. I think this is a beautiful cover page, and I would love to see this in actual magazine form sometime. That'd be super awesome to see that one day on shelf. So hopefully we can make that happen. Let's move on. And of course, we want to shout out our guy, Nicholas Ian Allen, who does CFB Winning Edge. I have a partnership with him. He supplies, that you've seen on some of the episodes, a lot of the depth charts, things like as far as how they did in production. He also has the return players percentage that is out as well. I believe you can find that in either tier 2 or tier 3, which I would highly recommend. I know tier 1 will get you just the normal depth charts and stuff like that. So even for $5 a month, highly recommended. I know I'm a subscriber. I believe Jared has done it. Austin's done it. I believe even Mitch has kind of looked into his stuff as well. So definitely something to go check out. So it's patreon.com/CFB Winning Edge. Go tell Nicholas that the Future Freshman Podcast sent you and that Brandon and the crew loves his work, and keep up the great work. I love this more than anything. Like I said, I couldn't trust our lads and a couple other ones. No offense to them. I wanted really precise, and Nicholas sees everything, transfer portal, you name it. He's on top of it within, hours basically. So the man stays up multiple hours at night trying to fix these things. He's an absolute beast. So please go check out his work. I love what he's doing, and just go check out his Patreon if you can, please. And then, of course, lastly, we'll change this so that you can see the bottom there. Of course, you can see we do have the Prize Picks, so go check out the app. People ask, what is Prize Picks? Now, it is a prop bet application that you can have. It does depend on the state you're in. Most of the states are available. There's only a few now that are not available, but they are trying to get Congress to pass those as well, so go check that out. Of course, the code is CFFU. If you use that, you'll get a matching deposit up to $100. So if you have $100, you can move to $200. If you got 50, you'll move to $100. Go check that out. Another one I want to plug is if you do Wake Up with my buddy Ray GQ, and of course he's got his partner in crime. They actually do videos per morning. So if you're not big on NBA, or if you're not big on PGA or anything like that, the guys actually give you pretty decent props that you can kind of look into, make some quick money, because they want you to move your bankroll up. And that's something that we've been plugging the offseason. Make sure that you're moving your bankroll, because we want to have as much as possible, so then we can drop a lot of money when CFFU podcast returns, and then we can win us some money here when CFP rolls around, which is our favorite time. So please go check that out if you can. CFFU at checkout, please, if you can. Price Picks back. We appreciate it. All right, boys. I think it's about time we start the mock draft. What do you guys think?
I'm ready to get started.
All right.
I'm totally stoked.
All right, so we did this by random. We used the 100-yard rush, and it was quite the race on there as well. At first, Mitch's guy was just booking it, and he decided to take a nap midfield. And then Jared's guy just steadily trucked it on there for the first position. So let me share the screen real quick for those that are watching YouTube. If you're not on listening, just we'll keep it going and talk about who we picked and why we decided to pick it as well. So let's bring this up, and I'll move this position right here as well. So Jared is going to be picking first. He has got the 101. I'll be going second, and Mitch will be going third. We're going to be doing this linear. We're going to try to, as much as we can, closer to what you're going to see in an actual freshman draft if you have your dynasty and stuff like that. We try to make it as close. Now, if there was trades and stuff like that, that would be a whole nother story, but we're going to kind of do best available. There's no depth chart as far as who we have as far as quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end. It's really just best available. So this kind of gives you just a simple look at what we're expecting as far as what you can expect if this was a best available approach, or more like a best ball type situation approach. So Jared, my friend, if you'll kick it off for me, good sir, and pick the first selection in this 2022 mock draft for CFF freshmen.
Yeah, like Brandon mentioned, most of the time when you get into a supplemental or freshman draft, especially in CFF Dynasty, your strategy is going to hardly ever, at least at the beginning, hardly ever be just best available, because your team is going to have needs, and you're probably going to want, and in CFF Dynasty, you can typically go more towards, more your team needs than you can like NFL Dynasty, because there's just a deeper pool of players to grab from. So you don't have to worry immediately about a giant tier break between these different players. I'm now going to sound hypocritical, because to me, regardless of what your team is looking like, there is a 101 pick in almost every single one of these that I think you have to go with. And that is going to be Mr. Nicholas Singleton, the running back out of Penn State. Dude rushed for over 5,000 yards and 95 touchdowns in his high school work. Ran 21.7 miles per hour, has great breakaway speed. He does have some limited receiving work, but I don't think that's really going to matter. And I think that had more to do with just the style of offense that he had in his high school. But at the end of the day, to me, this is the best running back in the class, and is going to one of the best systems for running backs. Just think about guys like Miles Sanders, think about guys like Saquon Barkley, and the depth chart there is just wide open for him to take it over here in year one. I think that Nicholas Singleton is the best value you can get for your draft this year.
Yeah, hands down, I think he's the best overall. We were talking an episode ago with Colin, and he was saying that you have the other Kaytron Allen in the way a little bit. You also have Kevon Lee, that Franklin's more into his veterans. But we think that he's still just one big breakaway, kind of like a Trevion Henderson type situation where he just blows up and then at that point it's just his backfield to own. Would you guys think that's kind of the same mentality, or are we still looking at Singleton as hopes that he can kind of get the ball rolling at least half a year from now, or half a season, or into the next season? What's your thoughts there?
I mean, if you're asking me, I say it's a little more hope than strategy. A true freshman running back, you have a seasoned team throwing him in. I don't really expect it at the beginning, but I would think that his talent would win over. In this draft, it's a very good first selection, but I'll disagree. I don't really think there is a clear-cut 101, and we'll see if I get my 101 here in a minute.
Okay.
Because if I had first pick, I would not be taking Singleton.
Well, let's do the first couple picks, and then we'll see the difference. Look, this is best available, and this isn't our actual real teams now. This might mimic some of it because the first round is a lot of these studs that we're actually looking to acquire in our own league. So it doesn't change a whole lot, but the good thing is having just best available. I'm kind of going with that. And with that, I have to take someone that I saw in spring game. I needed to know if what I saw on film and what I saw in research matched with why I thought he was the cream of the crop to begin with. He was. I get it. The quarterback situation is subpar, but if they're going to find this guy like 70% of the time and use him like a Deebo Samuel, I can't say no to that. So I am going to take Mr. Luther Burden III from Missouri. Let me see if I can grab him as well. And that's hard for me because everyone knows I tout a different wide receiver as my top dog. Of course, he's my biggest fish in the smallest pond, and I have a lot of heart because there. No pun intended to Mitch Hardt, but he's my guy, and it's hard to do it. But if we're looking at production and someone that can get on the field and make a difference, immediately, I have to take Luther Burden. What's your guys' thoughts here on Burden as the 102 overall?
He would be my 101.
If I were the 101.
Yeah, I think he is the best college football player coming out of high school this year. So he would be my first pick. And I'm going to disagree, I guess, some. I don't think you should take need in Dynasty because there are so many trades. Jared I'm in one Dynasty league with Jared. I think he's made 5 trades. I've only been in the league 6 weeks.
Yes.
So, I mean, why not? If Luther Burden is going to be the next blank, just whatever wide receiver that you want him to be, where he gets 800 yards and 7 touchdowns this year, then goes 1,200, 1,400, and is selected 7th overall. You could trade him for whatever you want. I love Luther Burden. Great pick there.
Awesome. All right, Mitch. Well, I took your 101 off the board. Who is your 103/102 that you usually would take?
Okay, so I'm trying to – how do I –
So there's the arrow on the bottom there.
Yeah. Okay, so
click that and select the person.
I'm going wide receiver number 2 on my list, Evan Stewart,
there we go.
Texas A&M. Look, I think the wide receivers in this class are better than the quarterbacks, certainly. And I have an affinity for some of the younger running backs, but I think a lot of these wide receivers should fly off the board here at the beginning of the draft, and Evan Stewart is one of them. Aggies are a team on the come. This is, for me, it's solid pick. I'm fine with it.
I love it. Evan Stewart showed out another spring game guy that we saw that it's going to go in his direction, regardless if it's Haynes King or they, pick someone else as well. I think he's going to get a lot of work for sure. Let's go ahead and speed it up a little bit. Let's get the first round done, and then we'll kind of, go from there as well, just so we can do it as well. Jared, if you want to go ahead with 104, sir, and then I will leave with 105.
Yeah, so we talked a little bit about beforehand about how, if you're looking for quarterbacks in this draft that are going to start immediately, you're not going to find them. There's very few here that strike me as a injury away or a guy that you are expecting to just take over as soon as they get here. We thought Cade Klubnik might have been that, but it looks like that Dabo's still going to ride or die with DJ Uiagalelei for now. So if you're going to take a quarterback here this early, To me, you just go ahead and take one that is in a system that you know is going to produce. You know that they're going to be a dominant force in the conference. And so I'm going to take a guy that is Devin Brown, quarterback out of Ohio State. Again, he's come from the same high school as Zach Wilson and Jackson Dart. He's not guaranteed to win the Ohio State job, but as far as I'm concerned, no QB recruit for Ohio State will be in the near future. If he does get the start, the sky's the limit for him. He's shown the ability to make all kinds of throws at all three different levels, and he's mobile when he needs to be, but he's not one of those guys that just takes off and runs and relies too much on his legs. I like Devin Brown quite a bit. I do think that there's a good chance that he could be the starter for Ohio State in a year or two.
I like it. Same sentiment, I'd say. You still got to worry about Kyle McCord there, but at the same time, if I see a transfer out, so I do see Devin Brown kind of taking over after this year. So, if we can't get 3 years out of Devin Brown, worth every penny to go ahead and sit on him, especially if you only have to sit on him for 1 year. It's worth it. It's just like those that have taken guys like a Drake May or Jacoby Criswell, hoping that they could, start right after Sam Howell, same type of strategy, kind of go from there as well. All right. I'm going to go ahead and pick. Let's get to that one. And let's see if I can go ahead and, I have to take my golden one. Sorry, guys. I'm going to take Matthew Golden from Houston. I get it. There's other wide receivers that are showing up on campus, but nothing is showing out like this guy has. He's been there from the spring. They highly wanted him. They would have had him from the very start. Nathaniel Dell is that guy, and I love Clayton Tune this season. So those two guys are going to ball out. But mark my words, Matthew Golden is taking over as the alpha next year, even with the transfers coming in. So don't let the transfers fool you. I'm excited for Houston because I do like having 3 wide receiver options. Can they hold all 3? I'm not sure yet, but can they hold 2 wide receivers in this offense in CFF? Absolutely. So I'm going to take the guy that's going to be there, hope for 3 years, especially since they move up to the P5. So he's no longer a big fish in a small pond. He's a very decent sized fish in a very large pond. So very, very much excited. So excited I could get my guy here on 105. Is it a reach for you guys, or do you think that's good spot for Golden, especially CFF?
Golden was my number 4 on my big board, so not
go.
a reach for me at all.
And I know Mitch was a big fan of Golden as well, especially with the spot.
He's going to do very well. Again, I can't say enough because I'm about to drop in another one. I'm going to go Barry and Brown.
Oh, I like it.
6'1", super fast. Is honestly has an open, kind of way to play this year. I mean, the guy may produce now. Down the road, I think it's a great pick. Again, if you're listening, do some research, find some wide receivers that you're in love with. Obviously, like I have, I'm going to go fishing in this freshman pond with wide receivers, and all of the ones that have been chosen so far are outstanding.
Yep, absolutely. All right, Jared, let's keep the ball rolling. It looks like we got a wide receiver run going. I like where this is going. So who do you got next?
I'm going to break it because I'm just going to take my next top guy off the board here. And again, I'm going to sound like such a hypocrite because I said I don't believe in a ton of the QBs here, but I'm going to do the exact same thing I did in the last pick, where I'm just going to take a guy who, if he's a starter for his system, you're not going to look back. You're not going to feel bad about this whatsoever. And even if he transfers out of that system, he's going to ball out somewhere else. I'm going to take Ty Simpson.
That's going to be my next pick. We had gone too long to not pick the next Alabama quarterback. Just like Jared had talked off cast, and not to overshadow your pick, Jared, you could talk to him. But, you discussed a very important question about CFF Dynasty on how much do you want to invest on a high pick with a guy who won't start for a few years. But Ty Simpson is not that. He could easily start next year. Very good pick, in my opinion. Very good pick.
Yeah, again, like as we kind of mentioned, 5-star quarterback headed to Alabama. Sign me up. Between Tua, Mac Jones, Bryce Young, the starter for Alabama has been a must-have for CFF teams. Simpson did enroll early at Bama and is believed to currently be the number 3 behind quarterback Jalen Milroe. However, I think after a full year in the system, Simpson could easily be pushing by year 2. He can scramble when he needs to, just like Devin Brown, but that isn't his first instinct, and he can get throws on time to his receivers, both of which are qualities that Saban values in his quarterbacks. I think we see Ty Simpson as the next Alabama quarterback once Bryce Young leaves for the NFL. You will not regret taking him here this early.
Yep, I agree, absolutely. All right, so this is where, you're getting to the further draft, and then this is where, all right, do I take a running back? Do I take the quarterback? I'm going to keep the ball rolling just because I see great value in this. I love the system fit to go along with it as well. Let's see if I can find him. Yes, he is my buddy Taylon Stretchron of Oklahoma State. Love the pick. He is a Oklahoma State wide receiver. He screams Des Bryant, Tylen Wallace, he's a perfect fit in that system. Talking with him, Austin, I do see where he needs to go into his mold. He's 6'3", but he could definitely beef up, just like Mitch does if he hits the gym hard and, gets those muscles a little bit bigger on that one as well. He is contest catch freak. I absolutely love that he's there as well. Be careful, like we talked about last week, his brother is also there. He's a tight end. So make sure you're looking at when you're drafting that you're taking the wide receiver Shetron and not the tight end Shetron. But I love Shetron in Oklahoma State. I think he's got year one written all over him, and I think he's going to be someone that you're going to see for the next 2 or 3 years to come for sure to make a big splash there and definitely move up draft boards heading to the NFL. So I'm taking Shetron at wide receiver, and I like the pick. I think it's solid. Mitch, what do you think, man, going into the 109?
I think I'm going to continue this run and stealing a little bit of Jared's system in Alabama. I'll go Shaz Preston. There's a couple of young wide receivers at Alabama. I'm sure someone will take another one here in just a second. But again, I when in doubt, when there are a couple of stud wide receivers at Alabama, Ohio State, UT, what I'm going to do is go for the little taller guy with speed. If there's a 5'10" guy against a 6'4" guy, you got to do your homework. But if there's a 6'1" guy against a 5'10" guy, I'm going to take 6'1" if he's fast. Shaz Preston is that. In all likelihood, he'll either be a starter at Alabama or somewhere really cool in today's portal world. I think he's got a lot of talent. I'm down with that. It's good. Again, you see a theme. I'm going wide receiver early. I'm sticking with it.
Yeah. I'll throw out this real quick. If you ever see a wide receiver coming down as a recruit between Alabama and LSU as their top two schools recruiting them, they're going to be a bona fide stud. So Chaz Preston, great pick there.
Yeah,
absolutely. All right, Jared, 110, man. Who you got?
All righty. Well, I'm going to continue breaking away from you guys because I'm going to take not a wide receiver. And I'm going to go – you keep taking the guys that I want to take a wide receiver.
Of course.
But I'm going to go running back here, and I'm going to go Jaden Blue, running back at Texas. Bijan Robinson will be leaving after this season and will likely be a first round, if not an early second round pick in the NFL draft this year. The question becomes, who is the running back most likely to inherit his role after he leaves? Enter Mr. Jaden Blue. Blue is already an ideal size for a back the day he walks onto campus, and his talent just leaps off the film when you watch him. In addition, he's an excellent pass catcher, which we've seen Sarkisian value in his running backs. Blue has the talent and the system to be the running back one for CFF in a year or two's time, which is always something you should be able to shoot for in the first round.
Absolutely. We're also looking for, it's just Bijan and straight to Jaden Blue. That's all I see is Texas is just pushing, the running backs, and it fits the system perfectly. I don't blame you. I'm surprised that he actually lasted this long, and this is where we're starting to see. I know it's the first one, but this is pretty crazy, right? That we're actually seeing pretty decent amount of stuff going on here as well. I think I'm going to go running back as well. And I think we need to look at it because I have my ear to the ground. So we definitely need to do that. Let's see if I can find him. Sorry for those that are listening.
You can type it out, Brandon, rather than
trying to look. There we go. Let's see. There he is.
All right.
So I'm taking my boy George Pettaway out of UNC. So listen. Of course, we all know that British Brown is the guy. He's starting. He's going to be that guy. We see in the spring game. It's all of the reports. Now, they're saying right now DJ Jones has the option at option 2. However, DJ Jones is injury prone, and I hate saying that as a Tar Heels fan, but it is true. The guy hardly stays on the field. George Pettaway is pushing from third to second already as a freshman. And regardless if I do like Amarion Hampton, he is, a little bit thicker, a little bit slower versus Pettaway. They're looking for a lightning role, Michael Carter-esque. George Pettaway has the option to start right away. I can't let him slip to the second round. I got to take George Pettaway here, running back for UNC, just with a chance that he could definitely go well over 500 yards this year just on the role that he has alone. So I'm gonna break up the wide receiver and go running back as well and take this pick. Mitch, you're up, buddy.
Yeah. Okay. So because this is how fantasy works, I'll just kind of go with something pretty obvious. One of the most highly touted quarterbacks in this class, and that's Drew Allar.
Oh, so he's going to drop.
Yeah. I mean, I think that if we were, in an actual draft, I think this is a great value for him right here. I know that he hasn't had the greatest start of his little practice career. He seems to be a little mistake prone, holds the ball a little too long, and takes some touch sacks. but he's a freshman. Like, he ain't even a freshman yet. That's what freshmen do, is hold the ball too long. I'll just go with talent here.
Right.
Penn State has good wide receivers, and they have Nick Singleton, the number one pick in this draft. So, you got some talent. I'm going to go Drew Allar. Any alarm bells for you guys? I don't think he'll play this year, but any true alarm bells? You think I'm okay there?
I love Drew Allar in a C2C more than a CFF Dynasty. I think he is going to be a prototypical NFL back or NFL quarterback in a couple of years' time. I do question the upside of a more pocket presence quarterback in the Penn State.
Okay,
system.
I knew you were going to say that. Look at Sean Clifford, Trace McSorley. These guys don't just scream athletic ability.
Right.
But they are athletes. They're only seen as passers because their passing is much better than their athleticism. I actually did some research on Drew a few months ago, and came away feeling that he was a little more athletic than fast. And it made me think, I think that's what they've been having. So while I think it is very normal, and this is very John Lobb to say, to go with the mobile quarterback, because it's easy. If he can just develop in passing, the mobile quarterback is there. We always tend to wonder, can this unathletic QB get 350 yards rushing and 8 touchdowns? And I kind of think he is. I think he's good enough to be a QB2 in CFF. I don't think Drew's a QB1. But again, if we're drafting to supplement our teams as we move forward, I think getting a guy at the end of the first round who could start this year for injury, but seems to be in line for next year, I like it. Again, not a super athletic upside, but I think sneaky athletic, more Trevor Lawrence athletic.
Yeah, I have Drew Allar on the much lower than we were taking him here, but literally at the very end of it, I said I'm willing to take him. I'll take the upside of a 5-star QB in a system whose success, at least at the wide receiver position, has been well noted over the past couple of seasons. It's not like they don't have guys for him to throw to. Right. So I'm not going to knock you too much for this. I think Drew Allar, again, I won't take him this high. If he's going this high constantly, I'm probably not going to own any of him in dynasty leagues, but I'm not going to knock you too much.
Yeah.
So that's the first round. What else do y'all see?
Yeah, let's recap.
I think the steal of the first round was Ty Simpson.
Mm-hmm.
That's my opinion.
I thought it was good, especially for the second pick.
Again, I mentioned if Drew Allar goes this high, I won't own any of them. If Evan Stewart is the 3rd overall pick in dynasty drafts, I'll probably not own any of him either. I don't doubt that A&M is getting to a better position in terms of being able to utilize their wide receiver talent. And I do believe that if anybody has a shot to break that trend, it is Evan Stewart. But for this one, I'm going to have to wait and see on it. And again, because of that, I might miss out on a great wide receiver talent in Evan Stewart, but I'm willing to take the L on it and then learn my lesson going forward for Texas A&M rather than trying to predict that Evan Stewart will be the first guy to break that trend with the 3rd overall pick in a freshman draft.
Yep.
Hey, defending the pick, I'll say this. Mike Evans went to Texas A&M, and he was an awesome fantasy wide receiver. I know it's a different system, but so is the pressure for the Aggies. And in a minute, I'm pretty sure that I'm going to pick the Aggie QB that's on the list as well. They will not mess around much before this heralded class gets to lead them. Because, again, as you saw the news today, Nick Saban and Jimbo Fisher are going at it because this is the best class money can buy. Well, you know what it is, and they're going to play. And those are the kids that the alumni are paying 6 and 7 figures to. Don't sleep on Evan Stewart. He's going to get the ball force-fed to him. And we haven't talked about that, or I haven't listened to many of y'all shows where you've talked about that. When you start paying children $300,000, the expectations for them to produce skyrocket.
Mm-hmm.
And
True.
If all the money truly is behind Texas A&M, they're not going to just get to hang out on the sidelines.
No.
So anyway, that's just a theory, but I'll take Evan Stewart.
I know, and the one thing I would give you with Evan Stewart is, again, he will be a starter for Texas A&M this year. It's not like we have to wait and see. We're going to find out very quickly whether Stewart is a value or not.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, the upside on these guys in the first round, like it's going to be either they play immediately or they just have upside waiting like a year tops or something like that to kind of get the job done. So that's where like the first round makes a lot of sense, especially that one as well. Do you guys have any like reaches that you think might have been a reach or anything like that, or do you guys? I'll be honest, like I think Shaz Preston's a bit of a reach on that one, just to start on that one, but it's only because of Isaiah Bond and a few of the other guys that.
No, and again, like I shared with you guys earlier,
crowded,
yeah, he'll be drafted in a minute, and Preston stands 3.5 inches taller.
Yeah,
and is just as fast.
Yeah.
So again, like, could an Alabama, a 5'10" Alabama wide receiver be their wide receiver? Sure, it could happen.
Yeah.
I'm sure Bond is going to be picked in just a minute, and it'll be a good selection.
Yeah.
Again, I'm going to stick to the strategy. If you're doing your own research after listening to this, check out the guys who are 6'1.5" to 6 foot tall that all run, the 21.5 miles an hour or better, the 10 to 100 meters and better. Keep selecting those. You will get things right. And each of the people that I selected are that guy. Draft those guys. That's again, that is a surefire way. If a running back is 5'11" and 205 coming out of high school, draft him. You're going to be okay. Like Nick Singleton. Look at it. And in a minute, Branson Robinson. Go ahead.
Yeah. Agreed.
All righty. I guess I'll go ahead and get the second round started here.
The second round. Yes, let's knock it out.
Alrighty. Well, there's been a debate about which out of the two running backs are the ones to own for the Alabama freshman class this year. And I'm going to stake my flag right here. I'm going to go Mr. Jamarian Miller. Miller, to me, is the running back to own out of the two backs for Alabama this year. Miller already has a close to ideal size and just strikes me as the most prototypical running back for Alabama. He has the ability to be patient and hit holes at excellent rates while also showing an ability to catch out of the backfield, both behind the line of scrimmage and downfield. In fact, in high school, he was able to line up out wide at times. Whether it's through the air or in the group, Miller's 10-71 100-yard dash shows he does have some breakaway speed that makes Bama's offense just as potent as ever. I expect Jamarian Miller to be next in line for the Alabama running back room here pretty soon.
Yep. The episode with Corey is what sold me on Jamarian Miller. He just feels more like that Alabama running back that can kind of get it done on both ends. He's not one-dimensional, and that's what spoke to me. Nothing against Emmanuel Henderson, but it sounds like he, as high as star he is, he still has some developing he's got to get done. But other than that, and we're not knocking Emmanuel Henderson. He might be at a value, the third or fourth round. Future episode we might be able to get him and stuff like that. But I love this pick of Jamarian Miller. I think it's right up Alabama's alley. What do you think, Mitch? You think Jamarian, or are you an Emmanuel Henderson type of guy?
Look, this isn't hard to see what we're doing. We're selecting guys from Ohio State and Alabama. And Jared said earlier, and again, for all the listeners, you won't get better advice. Look at a system that works and select their players. Could Jamarian Miller be beaten out by next year's 5-star running back? Of course he can. But what you're supposed to do is take the guy because the upside is awesome, and he could always just end up being the running back for Ole Miss.
Exactly.
So, no, it's a great selection. That's how you play it.
All right, guys. I'm going to put my money where my mouth was at a previous episode, and I'm going to take Mr. DJ Allen out of TCU.
I was just looking him up. Great pick.
Yes. Great pick. So, similar to Shetron, a great contested catch. Quentin Johnson's got 1 year left. I will be the first to admit, when I first did the rankings, I had Quentin Johnson way too low because I was just not thinking clear. Let's face it, I had the pre-spring blues. I just wasn't thinking straight. But now I'm thinking straight. Quentin Johnson's going to be an absolute beast. I love that system with Sonny Dykes. I love what TCU brings to the table. They can support 2 wide receivers. So the difference is Shetron, I believe, could be a wide receiver 1 earlier, whereas I believe DJ Allen takes over in year 2. He reminds me a lot of a Matthew Golden, fits the system. Great hands, great build, already like ahead of the table when it comes to being in the weight room, gaining in mass, gaining speed to go along with his strength. And I think it's a great pairing. And to get him at 202, which I thought he was going to be in the second round, I just, I couldn't let him slip too far because I think one of you guys was going to swoop him up real quick. I had to take my boy DJ Allen. So he's here at 202. So that's why I did the pick.
Awesome. No, I like him. I was just looking him up. Not quite 6 foot tall, but has a athletic family. He'll probably grow into that. That was a good pick. DJ Allen's a good pick.
I agree.
Mitch, you got.
I'm going to go Branson Robinson. Muscles
All right.
on muscles.
Joe.
Dude, again,
Here we are.
For every Nick Chubb and Saquon Barkley 625-pound squatting muscle man, you get a Mike Davis with giant thighs who doesn't do anything.
Right.
Man, I tell you, Branson Robinson, again, he's out of school where competition is always fierce. You never know if he's going to pan out, but I like them muscles. And if you don't know Branson Robinson, take a look at the pics on Google. He's a specimen. Again, my only worry is that we just wait around a long time, but I like his talent. Again, if he doesn't become the running back for Georgia, he'll be the running back somewhere.
As the Georgia guy, I will say this. Once again, I like Branson better in a C2C rather than a CFF. Less because I don't believe in Branson's talent. It's just more of, I think Georgia is moving away from having one back be the guy there, no matter how talented they might be. I think the last one we really got out of that was DeAndre Swift. I really think they are going to try to move forward a little bit more with this two-back system of, you got one of them being more the bruiser, which Branson absolutely fits. But then you're probably going to have another guy in the backfield there, a guy like Kenny McIntosh, a guy like James Cook. They're probably going to be utilizing more. So I'm not willing, as a Georgia guy, I'm not willing to take a Georgia running back quite this high, mostly because I think their upside for CFF is capped, and I don't think you're going to see one get much higher than the RB 36.
Yeah, I was going to point out, CFF wise, that's where not that I doubt Georgia and the talent. It's just, we're loading into, the RBU. So it's like, you're splitting times type situation.
One thing I'll interject with Georgia running backs, none of the kids that have been in the backfield since Swift are as good as Swift.
No,
and I think Robinson can reverse the mold. I think you go with what you have. And Kendall Milton, Zaire White, Kenny McIntosh, all of those guys are B-plus level running backs. Mm-hmm. And I think when you have B-plus guys, everybody plays. I think Branson Robinson's better than that.
Yeah,
that's fair. I hope you're right. As a Georgia guy, I hope you're right.
Yeah.
And I love Kendall Milton. Like, again, I've been tied to Kendall Milton, so some people are probably like, "Oh, what are you talking about, Jared?" I'm like, "Well, Kendall Milton's a great value right now in CFF because he's going as like the RB 60." I'm like, "No, he's going to get 200 touches this year." Anyway, we'll move on. We'll go ahead and grab my guy. And this is my guy out of the Alabama wide receivers. And Mitch, you kind of touched on him earlier. I'm going to go Isaiah Bond, the wide receiver going to Alabama. And you mentioned that he is like Preston's just as fast. I'm going to disagree because, again, like Bond is probably the fastest receiver I've seen in this class. Dude is just an absolute burner. Now you can say that his increase in speed over Preston's is marginal and it probably doesn't add that much to it. But even still, if I get a burner wide receiver in the Alabama wide receiver room, I'm not going to look back on it. If he wins the job, he wins the job. If he doesn't, he probably goes to start somewhere else and is an absolute deep threat for somebody. But even still, Bond isn't just a go route wide receiver. He's not somebody you just say, "Hey, Isaiah, go straight," and then you throw the ball to him. He's developed a very nice route tree over his time in high school. It has allowed him to be versatile all over the field, and it's going to allow Bama to utilize him in some pretty creative ways. Again, just with all Bama wide receivers, he's going to have to navigate a pretty crowded room. But to me, he has the best shot to earn a role pretty quickly.
No, a very good value. I could have easily have selected him, obviously, instead of Preston. I have, again, my reasoning. I'm going to stick to guys in the same size so you don't hit and miss. And I honestly think sticking to a strategy is a good idea because if it's
100%.
If it's a decent strategy, you should hit a decent amount of times. But Bond could easily outshine Preston. He's just a little shorter and he ain't much faster. So I'll take the bigger guy. Size matters. But man, Bond's a great selection at this point, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I love Bond. I love the speed. I think he could do, punt, kick returns, and kind of get on the field early. That also impresses Saban. So if he can get on the field earlier, that might, fast track him once one of these guys, decide to move up to the NFL and kind of move on as well. All right, let's do the next one. And it's finally time to put Oklahoma on the board. Let's take our boy Javonte Barnes at 205. Me and Mitch had a nice discussion about Javonte. He's building that mass that we talked about a few episodes ago. He's doing well. I do not trust the other two in the backfield. I do not trust Eric Gray. Marcus Major is B player. I'll put it out there. Javonte Barnes is there. Sawchuk is still not there yet. And so I see Barnes with the fast track to take over this backfield, at least as RB1A, and at least get the majority of that touches as we go. So I'm taking Javonte Barnes to Oklahoma. Guys, what do you think about Barnes there at Oklahoma in the 205?
My biggest concern is Jeff Lebby as the offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
The fact that he constantly uses a running back by committee. The highest finish that a running back got at Ole Miss last year was Snoop Connor, and he finishes the RB 65. So you got some very talented backs there, Jerry and Ely. Again, none of them could crack the top 60 running backs. I like Javonte Barnes a lot, but if his upside is going to be capped by volume and him splitting carries with mediocre backs because that's just what Lebby wants to do, I'm not willing to take Javonte Barnes this high. Again, I have Javonte Barnes on my big board here today. I would have taken him if he made it to me in the third round. I think this is just a little bit too early.
Okay. What do you think, Mitch?
Oh, I absolutely disagree. Again, much like the Georgia running back situation, I think a coach coaches what he has. Jerry and Ely and Snoop Connor aren't that much better than each other. It's a different back. So they complemented each other well, but they're not better than. Sometimes a coach will recruit and always have a committee of running backs because the system sets up for a complementary roles. Now, I think Javonte Barnes can be both of those dudes. And this is what we talked about that was interesting during the other class. They kept raving about his pass catching and pass blocking, and he's a larger man who can be the runner. What if his skill set provides him to be that 3-down back that the guy normally doesn't have? Again, I love system talk, and you should stick to it. You just got to watch out when somebody switches schools that they might just have a better player than they've ever had. Yeah. So, so what I'm saying is I like the pick at 205. Again, I think it might be a touch on the early side. I wasn't about to jump on Javonte until like three more spots. Yeah. So like I was going to pick him. I have to mark him off my list, but no, I'm fine with it. I think it was a good selection.
All right, Mitch, let's take it into the 206. Good, sir.
Okay, cool. So again, this is one of those picks where I look up in a draft like this and I wonder why my Ohio State wide receiver hasn't been selected. So
he was my guy.
I was ready to take him next, Mitch.
Yeah. So look, this is going to become redundant. When you go to one of the factory schools, you better step up. You better be somebody good. And, who knows? This is a dart throw. I think the kids got great athleticism. There are spots all over the field for him. But like Jared said earlier, or Brandon, I think you said this, the room is crowded.
Yeah.
A ton of athletes. But at this juncture in the draft, picking people like Alar or Branson Robinson or Grace, these are good values in this juncture of a draft like this, in my opinion.
I agree. I love Keon Grays. I think he gets on the field. It's going to be like a hockey system at Ohio State because they have so much talent. Someone's got to relieve JSN so we can at least take a breather and some water for a rep or so. Same thing, marvin Harrison needs to hop out. Keon Grays is that guy that just plugs right into the system.
And it's a three wide receiver system for CFF. Yep. They can produce 3 men that can start on your team at all times. So, or 3 wide receivers, excuse me. So I don't expect the kid to be wide receiver 3 this year. I'm being honest, I don't. But next year, I see him on the field. If he can be on the field with, again, all of those studs, I think it's at this juncture in the draft, I'd have to look through my picks. This is my best pick so far.
I agree. Yeah, talking to Matt Broding, he is going to do a lot of the punt return and kick return, like we talked about with Ballin, getting on the field and be able to block somebody and return a kick and stuff like that. That's all your coaches are looking for. That gets you on the field faster. I love the Grace pick. I think he's a stud next year for sure. He'll at least be wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3. We'll see what happens next year for sure. Great pick, and I love the value at 206. I'm surprised that he lasted this long for sure.
Definitely.
All right, Jared, let's do number 7. I think we'll just go to 2 rounds this time, and we'll do another episode and do 3 and 4 probably to do that. So let's move into 207. Jared, who you got, buddy?
So again, like Mitch said earlier, my strategy is not a secret here, y'all. I was ready to pick Keon Grays here because, again, I'm just going for systems. I'm just picking dominant teams in their fields that are just known to grab guys. And again, I would have taken Grays here. Just look at the guys I've grabbed. Wide receiver out of Alabama, running back out of Alabama, quarterback out of Alabama, running back out of Texas, running back out of Penn State.
Yes.
Like, you are like, my secret's not, I'm not hiding the ball here. I'm going to go with a guy here I think might be a little bit of a reach, but it still kind of fits into that system idea. I'm going to take Cartavius Norton, running back out of Iowa State.
The antivirus. Let's go.
Again, it feels like a bit of a reacher, but I'm sold on the upside of Norton. I like Gyro Brock for this year, but he is a step down in quality from Breece Hall. There's no denying that. And I think Norton is in the same mold as a Breece Hall, as a David Montgomery, and he's already getting praise from the staff after enrolling early. Not much evidence of him getting a ton of receiving work yet, but however, if he's able to refine that skill, look out for Norton to overtake Brock by year 2, maybe even earlier if Gyro Brock really does stumble this year. I'm going to take Cartavius Norton.
Yeah, when I was when me and Austin, we had him on there as well. He just reminds me of an Ohio State player, and I remember talking to Mitch, and we're like, Brock doesn't seem to fit that mold at Iowa State, and not that I don't hate on the kid. I think he's got talent. I just think Norton's got the tangibles to get it done and be more durable. This would be the first that I've heard talk of him in the second round, so this is definitely interesting. I would love to hear the feedback.
He's definitely rising, I would say. He's
For
definitely
sure.
rising.
Yeah,
and maybe that's me pushing it right now. But again, if this is a real draft, this is where I'd be taking him right now.
And I don't, people like Austin and Colin that, hype this kind of guy when I didn't even know about the kid like 2 months ago, because he's a 3-star. I was trying to work my way down the rosters and stuff like that. I'm just like, holy cow, this guy actually, might be able to be a Breece Hall, David Montgomery type replacement if Brock just can't get it done or becomes RBBC or something like that in particular as well. So I love the pick. I definitely think that's the way to go. I think it's time that we keep the ball rolling, and it's going to be systems. And so we have to go with, let's see, where is he at? I have to go with Caden Saunders because Penn State is always going to have one, at least one stud wide receiver, possibly 2. Right now, with Mitchell Tinsley blowing up and stuff like that, there's always the possibility of a transfer coming in, especially with Penn State. But the good thing is once they get it in, they lock their rosters. It seems like Penn State is pretty set for the most part is what we can see. We saw spurts of Caden Saunders. We didn't see him a lot, but he also got, work here as, the wide receiver. I do think it's, Tinsley Washington. And next year we're going to probably see I call him by his initials, but the other wide receiver 3 will probably be his year. But I do case Caden Saunders moving up into a wide receiver 2, possibly overtaking for a wide receiver role. System. So I'm going to go take Penn State's wide receiver, Caden Saunders, even though I think it's a tad bit of a reach. I don't think he would make it very far into round 3. So I'm going to go ahead and grab him here now. So, Mitch, what do you think, bud?
I like that pick, and I'll go with another muscle guy here with Trevante Citizen.
Great pick.
Again, I don't expect him to explode early, but to give everybody again a little different perspective, you should stick to system. Jared has given you great advice. The second bit of advice that you ought to take is go with the athlete. Branson Robinson is an athlete. Trevante Citizen is an athlete. I shared with you guys again. I'm looking for 6 foot 3/4, to 6 foot 5'11" 3/4. That bit. That can run fast. That's what I'm looking for first. Trevante Citizen, he'll eventually be a very good running back, so I'm fine with that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think he's going to get his turn, especially at Miami. And I think you're only really looking maybe, I know it's, undetected as far as who's actually going to wind up being. There's different reports in camp, but I still think by next year we see Citizen kind of move to the top of this.
I expect Knighton to lead the pack this year.
Yes.
Because honestly, I mean, wouldn't we all say if Trevante Citizen was the clear-cut number 1 running back that we would have taken him like 3rd?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. He'll be well sent to the first round. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, anyway, that's a good pick. I like what we're doing here with Norton, Saunders, Citizen, all good. And Grays. This is a good run here of picks.
Yes. All right, Jared, let's keep the ball running, man. This is your last pick of the round. Who you got?
I'm going to take one of your boys, Brandon. I'm going to take Mr. Andre Green Jr., wide receiver out of UNC. Once again, systems, go looking for that guy that's going to be the next proven wide receiver at UNC. We've seen guys like Daz Newsome, De'Ami Brown, recently the dominance of Joshua Downs. Like receivers in this offense can produce, and there just hasn't been one more hyped by the coaching staff that I've seen in recent years than Andre Green Jr. Coach Mac Brown lamented the fact that he couldn't play him in spring practice and games. He has the athleticism, speed, agility, strength are all there. And if he can just put it together, his route running abilities, I do think he'll be the next CFF wide receiver we want out of UNC. I would love to be able to get him here at the end of the second round in any draft.
Absolutely. He is on campus now there as well. He just didn't quite make the spring game. Like I said, Mac Brown was so bummed. He tried. He even reached out to NCAA. They told him no. So he cried a little bit on the inside because he wanted people to see the talent that is Andre Green Jr. But don't be surprised by fall if he hasn't caught up to the rest of these guys. You're going to see the super senior out on the other side, but don't be surprised if you're going to start seeing rotation here pretty shortly with Andre Green getting on the field. Just too big and bad to stay out there on the outside, man. He's ready to rock and roll. So I'm excited to see what North Carolina has in store with the next quarterback in Green here as the possible wide receiver one starting next year. So definitely intrigued here as well. All right, since you took my guy, I have to take a guy that I think deserves to be up here. And that is going to be
that was going to be my great pick. That was going to be my last pick.
Nice.
I'll give it to you. Talk him up. I think this is a great selection.
So love Ashton Jeanty, 3-star running back. I had him on during the Chris Moxley episode 3. Mox laid it straight. Ashton Jeanty is just an absolute stud. How he made it to Boise State and another guy's, he's only been able to play running or like football, right? Like 2 years, 3 years tops on that one as well. Came in, he was an all athlete, so he played defense. He's an Iron Man, so he can get it done. He understands against defenses. He's quick. He's agile. He's just got the tangibles to be a Boise State running back. He just looks like he's ready to rock and roll. I think he gets production this year. Helani just doesn't stay healthy. He's just one of those guys you don't trust. You play him, a game or two, you regret it. Now that we have the sweet, substitution thing going on at Fantrax, I'll be ready to rock and roll. Hopefully, if you're a Helani owner, you immediately need to go after Ashton Jeanty. I mean, I get it. It's going to be different when it comes to your actual dynasty leagues and what your needs are. But Ashton Jeanty in 211, there's no way I'm going to let this guy drop to the third. He's a starter, and I think he can produce easily 3 years solid. Ashton Jeanty's that guy. I go for him for sure.
Yeah. Add in the fact that Helani can never stay healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Like even if they try to go with him first, like there's a good chance that GNT just gets carries because Helani can't carry the load.
Mm-hmm.
That was going to be my selection here. I wrote down 9 running backs that I felt were underdrafted in this form. And it's who, if we were going to do, I don't know if we are or not, but if we were going to continue in the third round, I was going to start with my list. Jeanty was number 1 on that list. The reason that he's at Boise and not anywhere larger is he's only 5'9". He's a little light. So the size of him makes him that smaller school running back. Great reports out of practice already about the kid. And the thing with Helani that I'll say that maybe you guys are too nice to say, he's just not that good. Even when he plays, he's just not that good. I've had Helani every season. He isn't the Boise running backs of days gone by, and definitely not even from the Ian Johnson days. He's just not. He's not that good, and Jeanty could be that good. So, no, great pick. I loved it. So rocking on then with me with this pick, I will go to my next guy that I expect to get playing time early, and that's Maryland. Mr. Brown of Maryland. The C2C ranking sheet actually was cool. I didn't know he was that high on everybody else's list. So I was like, well, I do think he's going to get playing time early. I like his size speed combo. I like his skill set. Again, Maryland's wacky. It is. It's wacky. So it doesn't fit Jared's system mold here.
No,
the Maryland running back is not sexy, but I think he's going to get touches early. And then moving forward, I think he has the capability of holding everybody off. So he's your guy on a bad team that gets 75 to 80% of the touches. So when you watch Maryland and they're on the 1 yard line, he's going to get the touchdown, which is always fun. So that's Jeanty and then Brown. Those were my 2 play him early guys.
Mm-hmm.
What do y'all think about Brown?
I like Brown a lot. I think he's got a fast track to start. Maryland's done it before. I like Strickland, who came out of Maryland as well. I thought he was a decent running back, especially in CFF. he got stuck behind there in Pittsburgh, so he really wasn't able to kind of really break out the way he could have, but he had the talent to. He was just behind Le'Veon Bell, so what do you do back when Bell's in his prime, right? So, but they've produced good starters. I do think that, the little Tua and those guys, they're going to be looking for the wide receiver, but it's almost like they're trying to find the identity of wide receiver one just because Jarrett's not doing it. DeMoss is still coming back from injury. They got some other good guys and stuff like that. As far as like in the wings, they're coming back from a year one injury and stuff like that. So it's questionable. So what do? Maybe you move to the run game and, kind of surprise people. So, yes. And I think Brown could catch out the backfield from what I saw. I don't think he's like a super athletic, catcher or anything like that, but I think he's got the tangibles to be a 3-down back and kind of stay on the field.
Touch hog. I think he could be a touch hog, and that's what you would be hoping for if you selected him here. How about you, Jared? How low are you on Mr. Brown?
I mean, you hit the nail on the head when you said that like he doesn't fit my system mold, and that's probably why I have him lower than you do. But I will say, if I remember correctly, he's not much farther down. Like if we went to the 4th round, you'd probably see me take him there if he was available, because you're right. Again, he's clearly talented. Going to a non-traditional Power 5 school, like you love to see that kind of stuff because again, there's not as much competition. The other thing that kind of strikes me is Talia Tagovailoa has kind of elevated the Maryland passing game, I'd say, over the past couple of seasons that he's been there. What happens when he's gone? Do we really believe that they have a next quarterback that's up and ready to go and to produce with those wide receivers? I don't think they do. At least I haven't seen it yet. So why not shift back over to the run? Ramon Brown's going to be there longer than Talia Tagovailoa is going to be. So I wouldn't be shocked if he became that dude for Maryland.
Yep, I absolutely agree. All right, I think we should stop here at the first 2 rounds. Of course, if you guys really enjoying this content,
I want to keep going.
Me too, dude. No round 3. We're not going to do it.
All right. We'll do one more round. This will be the longest episode, but I don't care because this is worth it. So
it's a special.
Right. It is a special. We'll put it as the special in there as well. So one more round. I want to see these running backs because I think we're going to fight for some running backs here soon. So.
Real quick before we go into the 3rd round, I'm going to say my best steal and biggest reach that weren't mine. Keon Graves, I think, was the best value in this round. I was really hoping I was going to be able to get him there. And I would say probably the biggest reach, in my opinion, is Kaelon Sanders. I agree with you on the Penn State wide receiver. I just don't think Saunders is going to be that guy. I haven't seen him kind of reach that higher level. He doesn't remind me of a Dotson. He doesn't remind me of some of the other guys we've seen.
Okay.
And I'm going to share with you some strategy that maybe Brandon is going to take from me. So we'll see.
Sure.
The guys that I'm about to spot shadow and draft would not fit the draft predictor. You got to know who your buddies are drafting. What list are they using? Who are they listening to? Because if you take Brown like I did right there, but your buddies weren't going to take him into the 4th round, then you actually did draft Brown 1 round too early, whether you're right or not. But I'm going to talk about some running backs soon when it's my picks that you're all going to say that I'm reaching for. And I'm reaching for them because I think they're good and they're going to play. But that's actually not how to win.
True.
How to win is to know your competition and to get value. So I'm going to go with some unvaluable picks here in a minute. But Jared, kick off round 3, dog.
All right. Let's do 301.
So I actually have somebody here at the top of my board, but I'm curious to see if they even make it through round 3. So I'm actually going to skip them because I'm starting to question my value of them because I thought I was low on them. But the fact that they're now at the top of my board kind of tells me like, oh, maybe I could go even lower with this. So I'm going to take a little thing out of Mitch's hat there and see if I can get him maybe as my last pick. We'll see. But I'm going to go again. I'm not going to say non-traditional, but I don't hear a lot of people talking about this. Nate, you're going to love me for this one. I'm going to go running back Jalen Glover, running back to Utah.
Okay.
Short little guy. He's 5'7", but he's 205 pounds. Dude is like the living embodiment of a tree trunk when you watch him play.
Nice.
And I love watching him play. He is an absolute bowling ball going through, and he's got like I mentioned before, system. You want the Utah running back. Right now, Tavian Thomas is the guy for this upcoming year. No doubt about that. But that room behind him doesn't doesn't seem like the kind of room that I need to be scared of with a guy like Jalen Glover. I think Jalen Glover is the future of the running back room. Again, short and stocky. He runs like a bulldozer through D lines and then shows some surprising quickness for a guy of his height and weight. Like I said, he's very short, very big for his size. He's received praise from the Utah coaching staff as an early enrollee. That's something I always love to see. You definitely don't want the guys that the coaches just aren't talking about. Again, the depth chart situation in front of him is pretty favorable. Tavion Thomas likely gone after this year. And then Micah Bernard has really never been able to separate himself in that room. A transfer in could be an issue, but the last transfers that were brought in, which was Chris Curry and TJ Pledger, ended up being more depth guys than anything else. And it was the homegrown talent in Tavion Thomas that was able to take over that running back room. So I like Jalen Glover here. I think he is able to, if not get some work this year, definitely could be taking over the backfield for Utah by year 2.
Yep, I agree. I think Jalen Glover does have the fast track to kind of take over as the Tavion Thomas replacement. And Utah just has proven time and time again, whether it's Zach Moss or whoever that you've seen in the past, regardless of weight and stuff like that, they get the job done and then they move on. So I do like that as well. Let's move on and let's keep the running backs going. So I have to go with someone that was recently on the C2C podcast. That's Mr. Damian Martinez.
Great
You're
pick.
in my
Great
back
pick.
pocket. That was going to be my next selection
No,
too. So you just got me. Great pick.
So
Great
this is
pick.
Jared. When Jared was cat sitting, even the cat loves Damian Martinez. Okay, so Damian Martinez, perfect situation. I get it. There's some transfers in. It's going to be a competition, but you should listen to the podcast with Damian Martinez. The kid is a baller. He thinks nothing about football. His teammates love the kid. He's in a win situation. Oregon State, he doesn't even care about NIL. He reminds me of the Archman, like we talked about off of the podcast temporarily. He's not looking for money. He's looking for situation and to better his chances at the NFL. I love Oregon State as an option. We've had some producers out of Oregon State. Love the pick. So what you guys seem to be sentiment as well. So what are your thoughts on Damian Martinez?
Dude, I love Damian Martinez. I love watching him in the spring game. Like, again, Deshaun Fenwick, I think, is going to be the guy this year. I think they're going to go with seniority over the talented young guy. But again, when I watched him in the spring game, Martinez just struck me as by far the most talented player on the field at times. And I think it will not take long for him to become the guy for Oregon State at the very latest year 2, especially if Fenwick does what every other Oregon State running back has done the past couple of years, and that's just go to the NFL too early. And so I think Damian Martinez will be a guy that you're going to love having on your roster. And again, round 3, man, I thought he was going to be a guy that I'd be able to scoop up in like round 4 or something like that. I guess I'm going to have to bump him up on my big board just a little bit more in order to make sure that I get him, because I love Damian Martinez.
You got me with Genty. You got me with Martinez. Both of those were good selections. I actually think Martinez will be the lead back by the end of the season. I think he's the most talented back. At this juncture, again, I think it was an outstanding selection. So it's my pick, and I guess I better get my running backs while I go. I'm gonna go Tevin White,
Okay.
Arizona State. Arizona State's program is in disarray. They have Xavier Valade, who is not that good, and that's another thing that we don't talk about a lot in fantasy circles. But one, because it's just mean. You're talking about a 20-year-old kid who's doing all he can. But I watched Xavier Valade get beat out solidly by Titus Swin last year. By the end of the year, Valade was very pedestrian. You could see, or I could see, because I watched all those Wyoming games, because I actually switched backs from Valade to Swin because Swin became the guy. So I'm not worried about that at all. What I'm curious about is the next regime. I don't think White is an immediate producer, but I like his talent. And honestly, I don't like Valade. So I actually think I could get lucky in this selection and White play. So I like Tevin White. What do y'all say?
I'm not a huge fan of Tevin White, mostly because I don't believe in the talent too much. And then just throw in the fact that Arizona State is in complete disarray. He's going to have to be one that I get proven wrong on, and I'm willing to take the L on him.
No, it's cool.
I like Tevin White. I just personally, I think you could have got him, a few rounds. But I do like your system as far as the way you program your running backs. I mean, you have a different recruiting style and stuff like that. So I do respect the heck out of that. I just think you could have got him in the 4th, 5th, a little bit lower
Again,
down. But I like it. So it gets the grade, right?
News has it that Tevin White is playing, and I know that Valladay is no good. Yeah. And that's the thing.
What about
sometimes,
what do you think
again,
about that?
on the no, God, he's not any good either. So again, like I prefaced before this round began, the draft predictor, you wouldn't pick Tevin White. Tevin White is going to be there next round, but I want Tevin White because I think he's going to play. Mm-hmm. See, that's the deal. Sometimes though, you got to be right. Like Jared said, he wanted to wait and see if he was proven wrong. Well, I would just as soon draft the guy and just be correct. But the thing is, you got to be right.
Yep.
Jalen Glover, in a similar mold, the guy's not going to play it all next year and could easily just be the running back for Utah State. He's 5'7". When you get to the 30th and 40th and 50th kids in a class, they all have warts.
Yep.
So Tevin White is not a masterful athlete, but he seems to already be better than Xavier Valladay. So anyway, just, more guys. So who you got next, Jared?
So I kind of flashed up on the screen, so I spoiled it a little bit for those watching on YouTube. But
it's okay.
Again, just going back to the whole system thing here. Again, Aaron Anderson, another borderline 4 or 5-star wide receiver going to Alabama. I'll take that in the 3rd round of a freshman draft. Again, I don't necessarily super believe in Anderson because again, he's short. He's 5'9". He could probably stand to grow just a little bit more. He'll probably again, because that's what teenage boys do as they continue growing, but he'll probably get up into the 5'10", 5'11" range, 185 pounds wide receiver. Not bad. But again, pretty much everything I've said about Bama wide receivers applies here. Anderson has shown abilities to create plays all over the field, and his special teams work will likely earn him some early playing time for the time, kind of similar to how JoJo Earl played last year. But like I mentioned, he's small, but we've seen smaller wide receivers put up some big numbers at Alabama in the past. Anderson is known to be utilized in slants and short passing games, something that Bama has excelled at for years. But again, this late in the draft, just give me another shot at a Bama wide receiver. And if he doesn't work out, he'll probably do well at somewhere else.
Yeah, I agree. You can take him with the option of possibly a transfer if he just gets too crowded in that end of system. I will say Aaron Anderson rose up later at 24/7 when I was looking at 22 recruiting as I was putting together the list and stuff like that. Anderson was a late riser, so I like that he was starting to climb even higher, right on up there to the Shaz Preston one. So that's saying a lot from the recruits themselves, saying that Aaron Anderson has the talent to get it done. So you can't just dismiss that. So that's where, I look at that, and I do get, stuff like Corey Pereira, of course, who's on our Debbie team, speaks highly of Aaron Anderson and a few other guys there as well. So I do, I take that and I kind of sprinkle that information. So I do like Aaron Anderson as well. I think, systems, I understand.
I might sound like a broken record here, but again, Bama can literally have their pick of the litter every single year of wide receivers. If they choose to let Aaron Anderson commit to them, that to me says a lot. That to me tells them they believe that he has a shot to be a starting wide receiver. So I'm not going to immediately doubt him because, he's a little too short. If Bama wants him, Bama got him. And as far as I'm concerned, that's enough for me at some point, especially in the 3rd round of a freshman draft.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just remember, listeners, oftentimes the greatest fantasy scorers play for Toledo. Everybody doesn't have to play for Alabama. But again, as you see with Jarrett, man, I took the words right out of my mouth. He's got a system. It's got a hit rate. Aaron Anderson is likely to be really good.
Yep. And you can't go wrong if you're taking the systems. All right, let's move on. So I'm going to take the 305, and honestly, I skipped this guy because I wanted to see if he falls because a lot of people are actually forgetting him, and that is my boy, T-Mac.
Thank you, Brandon. I was hoping
I was going to snipe you. Is that the guy you were waiting on too?
That's who I was going to grab on my next one if he was there.
So listen, we're going from Alabama to Arizona, right? And when you hear Arizona, you want to cringe, right? You just want to be like, why? What happened to the days of Rob Gronkowski's Arizona team, right? It hasn't been the same. They're in a changeover situation, but T-Mac is a wide receiver one. He's probably a big fish in the last part of the FBS pond, I'm saying, right before it drops into, G5 and stuff like that. Arizona is a P5 school. Barely, but it doesn't matter because T-Mac is all over the field and catching everything. We all saw the spring game we all thought that we were going to see a Jacob Cowing situation, but it seems like T-Mac is just taken over immediately. I had to go because it's immediate production. This is CFF. I'm looking for 3 years. And that's where, we eliminate the system. We go for the opportunity and we look at the talent. And T-Mac could have chose Oregon. He could have just been another guy at Oregon. Instead, he wanted to be top dog at Arizona. I respect the heck out of that. The kid's a baller. I'm going T-Mac at 305 for sure.
I like this selection. And if I shared my screen with you guys, I'm not exaggerating. My top wide receiver that I wanted to pick was T-Mac. My top running back, which I'll go ahead and select
right now,
is Coleman.
Yes.
Oh, Coleman's a great one here.
And I'm not kidding. The top quarterback, again, not on the predictor tool. Like, this isn't who you're supposed to take. Mm-hmm. But if you want to know what quarterback right now that you could draft in this universe that'll score the most points, it's Arizona's quarterback Fafita.
Yeah.
He's gonna get the job. He's better than those guys. Delora? He's better than him. I when I watched that game, I watched a lot of that game this morning, and Coleman first and T-Mac just jumped off the page.
Oh yeah.
But every good pass I kept saying, whoa, is that's the other guy? And I kept saying that, and then I was like, Fafita's the guy. Now again, probably won't be for the first 4 or 5 games, but Delora is not good. If he was good, he'd have been good. He ain't good. So anyway, I like where Arizona's going. I love the McMillan pick, and I just wanted to pick Coleman to say I'm on the Arizona tip too, dude. I think they're on the come. Good job.
I have been very impressed what Jed Fisher has been doing over at Arizona, and I don't blame you whatsoever. Fafita, I'm a little bit hesitant on, mostly because, again, he's so short for a quarterback. So I wouldn't take him this early, and I do think he would be somebody I'd probably take several rounds from now, especially if other people just are off of him completely. I'll take a shot on him because I would agree with you, Mitch. He looked like the best quarterback in the Arizona spring game. So I'll take a guy like that.
If you haven't watched it, watch the clips. I can tell you one thing for dang sure. He's the funnest. He is the funnest of the quarterbacks. That he made a throw, and I was just like, "Oh, come on, dude! Hey!" So he is one of those guys that's gonna make you say, "No, yes." Very Matt Corral-ish in his early decision making. We all remember when Corral threw like 700 interceptions that day against LSU. So,
my gosh, the Jonah Cole and T-Mac. Just Arizona in general just reminds me of a good day of CFF when just any outcome is absolutely possible and you're just waiting for the blow up. So you're just waiting for the 20-plus point game coming from some of these guys.
And did you guys see the same thing I did with Coleman? I think he's the best running back. Is there?
Yeah. I like Rayshawn.
I would be surprised.
Yeah.
Rayshawn's like a hybrid. I don't think he's going to be like that traditional running back role.
Yeah.
He runs into A-chain a lot as far as his speed and stuff like that for sure.
Very similar.
Yeah.
So, I think Coleman's going to get touches early. So,
absolutely.
I'll throw out one more name for Arizona since we're on the Arizona hype train here. But this is not going to be somebody where I'm taking here or anything like that. But they got a freshman tight end there, Burnett. A pretty high 4-star tight end that I think could be getting some early work there. If you're a guy that is willing to take a tight end in a freshman draft, I know some people just probably would rather go for the waiver wire on those guys, and I don't entirely blame you. But, he's somebody that if you're going to a deep freshman draft and you're just looking for guys to stash away, I'd probably take a shot on him. Yeah, sure. I'm going to go back to the running back position here. Once again, I'm sticking on this train of system. Who doesn't love the Oklahoma State running back one? I'm going to plant my flag here on Ollie Gordon. We've seen it over and over again the last couple of years that when OSU finds their guy to ride or die on, it is incredible for college fantasy. Last year was Jalen Warren. Before that, it was Chuba Hubbard. And for in 2019 and 2020, before injuries kind of took him out, Gordon is the exact mold of a Gundy lead back, and we likely would have seen him get some earlier playing time, but unfortunately he was injured on the first play of their spring showcase practice game, whatever you want to call it. If Gordon can come back healthy and take advantage of a very weak running back room at Oklahoma State right now, he could have his expected role as a lead back by the end of the year, and then you have a 2-year starter at running back for Oklahoma State minimum. So I'm absolutely willing to take a shot on him here.
Yep, absolutely. I love Ollie Gordon. I love the opportunity. He'll be good to go. I think come fall time, he'll have the what he needs to kind of compete and get the job done as well. Was it Jalen Warren who was out of Oklahoma State?
Yes.
Before him, look at the opportunity and what the outcome could be in CFF. I mean, Ollie Gordon just slots right in there. I love that as well. So let's move on to 306. And I'm sorry, but the value it's just too much. We have to go ahead and take Klubnik. It's time.
I was wondering if he would make it through the third round.
Honestly, you could probably wait to the fourth. This is CFF. If this is C2C, he would be gone way from now. But let's talk CFF for a second. Listen, I get it. It's Clemson, right? And the kid's not developed immediately. But if you can get him in the third round and you can wait a year, look at the weapons. I mean, there's two of them that we haven't even selected. One, you have to wait a year for. So he's going to get value. And if we, if we decide we want to do like a rounds 4 through 7 or episode or something like that, we're going to see those wide receivers come off the board, maybe in the third. I don't know what you guys have in store. I get it. Clemson is not sexy right now. They're having a hard time. DJU is not that guy. I think Klubnik still has to develop, but I still think he gets on the field this year, if not definitely next year. And the kid's going to have at least some good days because there's going to be some teams in the ACC that just can't produce. Now, this year, my flag is Will Shipley and Will Shipley only in Clemson, all right? So, I mean, don't get me wrong. That's why I went and I traded for Shipley. I needed a guy that can get the job done. But Klubnik at this value, I can't say no to that. And, a guy that's supposed to be, an NFL guy, stuff like that in particular, he's going to develop. So why not just sit for the year and get the job done? So that's where I'm coming from. I see the cringe, so let me have it.
No, Brandon, I told you, like this was my guy that I was higher on my board, but now I'm really starting to think I'm going to drop him even lower because I thought I was already pretty low on him. I thought he would have been long gone by the time he got there, and I'm just sitting here thinking, like, man, if people are this off on him, like Klubnik's not a guy that I'm looking to. He's going to have to fall late for me to like go after him. He's not a guy that I'm like going to aggressively look for or anything like that. It was funny because at the beginning of this whole offseason, Brandon, I remember the first episode of this podcast, you had Klubnik as one of the top 3 guys you were expecting to be on the top.
Times have changed.
Times have changed because we've seen him get there to Clemson. He's not taking over the quarterback job like some people thought he might be able to. And with that, his value just plummeted. Now, granted, I think he'll be the number 2 this year because, again, Fomachan's out of there. I don't even remember. They got Hunter Johnson, but like let's be real, he's a grad assistant that's just going to hold a clipboard. They're just looking for a way to get him to scholarship. Again, the problems with Clemson's offense runs deeper than just a quarterback position, and Klubnik's not going to be the guy that could fix it per se, because they got to figure out that O-line situation. They're starting to figure out the receiver position. Again, a guy I'm probably not going to take here.
Stop it. Klubnik sucks. Just stop. Don't draft him.
Oh, my God.
Let him fall. Fellas, sometimes you got to look with your eyes, dog. The kid ain't that good. Why y'all making me
I got to disagree. I think he looks good. It's just, I don't think he's set up for success at Clemson.
He doesn't look good. He's not a good quarterback. He's not.
Okay, so
I've watched his footwork. He falls off of his passes too often. He doesn't step into his throws. He does not have a strong arm because of that. He is naturally weaker than I would want to see an elite quarterback. Like, if you look at what Kyle McCord was in high school and what Cade Klubnik is now, dog, it ain't close. Who are the 2 guys on this list? Let me go back up here. Hauser and Horn. They're both way better than Cade Klubnik at playing quarterback. They're way better. So what if, like, Klubnik's not going to ever be good. He's not, especially in CFF fantasy. You talked about the Penn State kid not being a good athlete and being able to run around. You think that little dude is going to get a bunch of rushing yards without getting his, tail knocked in the dirt? Just no chance. Don't do it. Push him down. Let somebody else have him.
All right, so
that's my 2 cents there.
Would you think the expectation if Klubnik did transfer out? You see the picture differently, kind of like if Rather leaves Oklahoma.
If he can't win that Clemson job, then Klubnik was never valuable in the first place.
Well, then if he had been a 5-star, then they got it wrong. They just have to
sometimes
take that,
they do. Look, sometimes they do. Sometimes a 5-star running back just don't run with the heart. And sometimes a 5-star quarterback might be smart as can be. He just isn't that good. That's what I see. The kid just ain't that good. And like Jared said, if he was that good, he'd have already been the quarterback already. So anyway, I'll pass. Okay, well, I'm going to go on a guy that you shouldn't draft at this point of the draft either. but I like the big fish, small pond. I'm going Terrence Gibbs, running back, Georgia Southern. You get a kid who was recruited by Alabama that ends up at Georgia Southern because of some injuries. This is a very feast or famine selection. We don't know if he's ever going to be what he was prior to his injury. But reports that I've read, and I did some newspaper article looking yesterday, kid's in great shape. So I think big fish, small pond, I'll go Terrence Gibbs here. I'm sure it's way too early on the draft predictor, but it's a very open backfield with a kid with oodles of talent that they would like to showcase to get kids like him to come. So I think there's also some political motivation out there for my guy. Le'Veon Moss and Allen, Andrew Paul, these are probably all running backs that you should select in front of Gibbs, but I like Gibbs. What do y'all think?
So I'm rooting for Gibbs, like from just a heart standpoint. Like I want him to return to form and everything. From a fantasy perspective, just you're right, too early, too risky for me to take him here. You're right. If he does get back on track and he is just the lead back for Georgia Southern, that could be great. You have a 3-year starter right there, which is always a value in CFF. But again, I personally wouldn't be willing to take him here. I'd probably wait more in the round 5-6 range than taking him here. But again, this is where you get more into people start taking my guys. Like this is where consensus really does start to break down just a little bit more.
Yeah. Would you have selected Ott from Cal?
Ott is an intriguing one.
Because that'll be my next selection if you guys don't pick him as Ott. And I kind of feel again just similar. Got to have
I would much rather take Ott here in the 3rd round than Terrence Gibbs.
Cool.
Mm-hmm. All right, I guess we'll move on to my guy here. And again, I'm going to break off my board here because I'll tell you who I would pick if I was sticking to my board, and that would have been Jordan James out of Oregon. But I'm going to throw just the tight end out here. Okay. And again, you might say it's too early, or you might say I'm not going to draft any tight ends whatsoever in a CFF freshman draft. That's fine. But Oscar Delp's the one to own here, guys.
Yes.
I know a lot of people who are scared off about the Georgia Depp tight end room. And for this year, I don't expect Oscar Delp to be the guy this year. But after this year, Eric Gilbert and Darnell Washington are going to be off the NFL. We still got another year of Brock Bowers. And you're like, oh, Brock Bowers is still there. Guys, Georgia runs like 2-3 tight end sets constantly right now because of the depth they have at the position. Oscar Delp will be out on the field this year and next year. Do not worry. He is going to get his at some point during his career, and you will have a starting tight end for CFF Fantasy. I don't want to say guaranteed because nothing's guaranteed in CFF Dynasty, but to me, out of the tight ends, he is the closest to a guaranteed tight end that you can get.
Yep.
I'm going to zag on this. If you're not getting an early production tight end, which Delp, I don't think will either have 8 touchdowns or 800 yards at probably for 2 years, maybe. I think at a juncture of the draft here, I would rather just take a position player that may end up being an 1,100 yard, 10 touchdown guy. But I get it. Delp's good. He's going to eat into my Brock Bowers production. Because I have Bowers in a couple of leagues, so I know he's good. I just, again, we'll spot shadow the guy, but a little too early. Like Terrence Gibbs. Yeah.
My point here more than anything else is like when you're comfortable to take a tight end, if Delp is still on the board, just grab him. And to me, he is like one of the only ones that I'm just like, I'm willing to kind of reach up on for than all the other ones. I mentioned Burnett earlier out of Arizona. I like him too, but Delp to me is like the clear, like, especially in C2C, he's a value in C2C right now. I am so shocked at how low he goes in C2C leagues right now. He is going to be an NFL tight end at one point.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Me personally, I like to look for that tight end with the obscure G5 teams or whatever. So the kid out of Cincinnati, I love. I'm also big RJ Maryland, who we had as a big fish, small pond out of SMU, one of the highest recruits in SMU history, coming in, and the kid has pedigree. His dad was the first pick overall to the Dolphins in 91 or whatever. So I mean, he's got the pedigree, right? So I look for that type of value, but I love Oscar Delp. He would be if I'm going to take him, I usually wait tight end like 7th, 8th round, but that's just strategy on my end. If I'm taking a higher pedigree guy, so Delp at 7th or 8th, but if you want value, Archie Maryland, the kid of Cincinnati, I can't pronounce his name, stuff like that, you get later rounds for sure.
Throw your tight end chips at one of the few Texas A&M tight ends that were recruited.
They got like 3 of them.
Yes, they're all ridiculously talented. So what I would suggest for your listeners, be last. Take the third guy. Wait until whoever – well, in a draft like this, say it's going to be a 12-round draft. Wait until the other 2 Aggie tight ends are selected. Take the third, whichever is left, because it's going to be a roll of the dice of who eventually wins. And the Aggies can produce good fantasy tight ends. So, I'm not drafting a tight end at this juncture, but I wanted to throw my 2 cents in at tight end.
Still, this fits systems, right? Georgia and tight end.
Certainly.
It's perfect for sure. So definitely
all day long.
Don't disagree for sure.
Yes.
It's funny because 2 years ago, everybody kept saying that Georgia didn't know how to use the tight end correctly because of Isaac Tata.
That is wrong.
It's funny how things change.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to make up. Apparently, my Club Nit pick was not great. So I got to make it up, guys. So we're going to go with Mr. Justin Williams out of Tennessee, the running back. I am extremely excited about Justin Williams. I think in a Heupel system that Justin Williams is a credible talent. He's increased his star rating, over this past year. Me and Corey had a great talk about him. He's already doing well in camp. He's only 1 spot away from taking the starting position. I already think he's already leaning into a RB1B type situation already. And I think with an injury, as far as the RB1 already happening in the previous year, that Justin Williams could just kind of like a Helani and Genty, it could be a similar thing where Justin Williams kind of takes over in this Tennessee thing. It's SEC. It's a great pairing of the talent and the school. So I got to go with my boy Justin Williams here at the 311. Great. I think Drake's great value, especially for sure.
Remind me real quick, Brandon, because I can't remember off the top of my head. Does Justin Williams have a ton of receiving pedigree?
He's not like polished or anything like that, but he has some. But
because if they can't utilize him out of the passing game, I don't know if I really want him that much. Because again, like obviously in a Heupel system, you're going to get a ton of touchdowns, like they're going to score a ton of points. But they've never really relied on the running back position, especially one guy. Under Heupel, look back at Tennessee, look back at UCF as well. Mm-hmm. I don't necessarily think – I think there's some better values here than Justin Williams, in my opinion. Although, again, I do like the guys that the coaches are talking about, and they have talked about Justin Williams plenty. So I'm not going to knock you too much.
What do you think, Mitch?
I think he has a chance to be a producer. And I kind of think he has a chance to be a producer early. I don't think he's a touch hog waiting to happen, because I do think they're certainly going to be able to continue to recruit offensive talent, which leads me to believe that it's going to be the running back by committee, maybe at best, for Tennessee. So to just kind of look at it like the Ollie Gordon, Jonah Coleman, Gibbs, Tevin White, Damian Martinez, like that run of guys, all of those guys could be touch hogs in if the dice roll correctly. Mm-hmm. I don't even think if the dice really roll correctly that Justin Williams can get 22 touches a game. That's what I'd be afraid of. Not the talent or even like getting 700-800 yards, 10 or 12 touchdowns. I think he has a very limited upside. That's how I would put it.
Yeah. So, I just see him staying on the field just because he can pass block very well.
And, you know what? You and I are seeing eye to eye on this draft.
If Hooker's just, he can't find a receiver, say if they're blocked, he's going to just dump it to Williams, especially if he's on the field, right? So but that's where I'm like, it's a reception. I'll take the PPR. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's the point. So.
We're really giving the listeners two very different schools of thought.
Sure.
Jared is sticking to big school system only. I'm going athletes that will touch the ball, and you are really going very similar waters. You want people who are getting the ball. And what this really is a difference in, do you need help today or do you need help a year and a day from today?
True.
If you don't need help today, draft like Jared's drafting.
Yeah.
The hit rate's going to be good. You'll boom a bunch of picks. You just ain't going to get any help this year. If you need help again this year, then you ought to draft who me and Brandon are talking about and who we're drafting. Because, like, going back to the first round, Jaden Blue. Jaden's not going to help you win this year.
Oh, heck no.
But he's a stud. So, you're like, well, do you need help now or do you need help later? And, like, my last pick, and this is a guy who I kind of think might help you maybe now and later, is Michael Allen. Another running back that I've done some research on. He is a good athlete. He has a path to, starting citizenship. He has a good quarterback. They don't have a very dynamic offense, but I don't mind. Again, I see Michael Allen as a guy who could slide into NC State as a 4-star recruit and be a touch hog. Again, could he really ever be as great as, the Jaden Blue or Jamarian Miller? No, probably not.
No.
Probably not. Probably can't be as great. But you know what? I didn't pick him in the first round. I picked him at the end of the third. So you got to kind of know what you're looking for in these drafts. So, so I'm going to go real quick. My favorite pick of that round that wasn't mine was Ollie Gordon. That was my favorite pick of that round. My least favorite pick, and we've already kicked him in the face, was Klubnik. Like, I'd rather just pick Jared and just have a good joke and say, I'm the Palmgrenites or whatever. So I just, I don't like Klubnik. But Ollie Gordon was my favorite pick of that round. My least favorite was Klubnik. What do you see, Brandon? Who was your favorite pick of the third, and who was your least favorite? I'm sure Terrence Gibbs is probably on some of y'all's list, but what do you think?
I like Gibbs. I just, like I said, the value, you'd take him later, but you weren't going for, I'm saying, like, lower rounds. It's a different strategy when it's best available. You're looking at a person that can touch the ball now. I absolutely agree. I got to say T-Mac, man. Like, I know it's my pick, but
it's a great pick. No, it was right on my list.
I was angry when you picked him, so
I know. It's nice. I love T-Mac. The one I'd probably say, nothing against it because I understand the reasoning, but Oscar Delp, you're going to wait way later for a tight end, me personally, but like I said, this is different because this is best available. If this wasn't best available and say Jared was like, I'm in desperate need of a tight end, like someone that can produce, but I have a guy that can start this year, you're not going to clog up your roster, especially your dynasty rosters with a lot of tight ends. Like I had two, Dolchus, he's on my team on the Broncos now. I don't have him anymore. So it's like, hey, goodbye. I have one tight end left. So I'm like, I need one more good guy that could come in and help me out when Marshawn Ford moves on, right? So I'm just looking to repeat, production. But, in Dynasty, Oscar Delp, heck yeah, man, especially in year 2, stuff like that. I just wouldn't take him in the third round.
Yeah. Jared, who did you like? Who did you dislike in the third?
T-Mac, it was hard to go wrong with him there. The one I could go Terrence Gibbs again, but here's the difference between Terrence Gibbs and the guy I'm going to say. I could see myself taking Terrence Gibbs at one point. I don't think I'm ever going to take Tevin White. I just am not a big believer in him. I don't think there's ever a round that I get to where I'm going to be looking at him and saying, alrighty, now I'm going to take him.
Cool.
He'll probably be taken by somebody else by that point.
Yeah, I actually, again, I like his touch ability. Well, here's a question for y'all, and I'll go first. Like, guys that I thought would be drafted in this draft that I'm kind of surprised on. The 2 quarterbacks, Connor Wegman, Sam Horn. I think both of those would be good selections right now. Why do you think? Well, first, why didn't you draft them? If we do round 4, I was going to start drafting quarterbacks. Those are 2 of the guys that I like. What do you think about those 2 guys? And I'll just throw it to Jared. Like, if you were going quarterback right now, who would you select?
So Connor Wegman, much of the same reason why I wasn't going after Evan Stewart. Again, I need to see, again, it's not always the best strategy because if you're late, you miss out. But with A&M, I'm willing to wait and miss out on this first round of guys that could change the course of the Texas A&M offense, but I'll wait and see. Sam Horn is somebody I might probably have to bump up just a little bit because, again, I was worried about them bringing in a quarterback this year through the transfer portal and maybe having to wait another year. And then there's always the stuff about him in baseball and stuff like that. He might go to baseball. But that didn't happen. The best they brought in was Jack Abraham. And he's
not good.
He's not good. So I think Sam Horn's probably going to bump up a little bit. You asked me who would I take here. I'm going to throw 2 names out here if I had to go quarterback. Brady Allen. I think he could win the job at Purdue by year 2. And I'm kind of surprised that, again, there just wasn't a ton of quarterbacks coming off the board in this draft. So I think that's part of it. The other one is Connor Harrell, quarterback at a UNC. Just an athletic dude. Really kind of showed out in the spring game. I'd absolutely take a shot on him because, again, I don't think he's better than Howell. But in terms of what he could do and the fit he has in the UNC system, heck yeah, I think he could. I think he's likely the guy at UNC after May leaves. So I wouldn't mind stashing him.
How about you, Brandon?
Yeah, I want to touch on Stockton, and this is
Gunnar Stockton.
Listen, Georgia's going to be untapped eventually. It's just going to take the right people. I get it. Bennett's just there to get his job done. He just wants to get him back to the national championship. It's just Stetson Bennett's a great, field manager. He does his job. Stockton, I think, is a lot more talent. What I'm scared of is the class after that. If Arch Manning does land in Georgia, the roof's going to come undone. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's going to be ridiculous because now you have all these really talented 5-star, 4-star wide receivers at Georgia that now has a guy that can actually get it down and put it in precise places that need to do with that Manning pedigree. I get sometimes the decision making of Arch Manning isn't, it took Peyton past his rookie year, to really get into that mode and stuff of that. Eli, I think sometimes just bombed it and hope for a pair. We'll talk about the helmet catch a different time, right? But at the same time, like, the Mannings just have a way of processing things and finding the right receivers when it matters the most. He's clutch. We'll say it like that. It's clutch. If Arch Manning lands in Georgia, Stockton, I don't know if he sticks around. I think he transfers out.
That's what scares
me the most.
As the Georgia guy, I will say this. I think it is more likely you see Gunnar Stockton get a path to CFF relevance at a school other than Georgia. That is my honest opinion. I do not think that he will be starting at Georgia, mostly because, again, I do believe Arch Manning will be landing with Georgia. Just the things I've been hearing say that is most likely what we are heading towards.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense that he lines up in Texas with Ewers there. Like, why would you go in and then immediately Ewers and him? I'm
not gonna knock that too much. He has legitimate reasons to go to Texas. It's just everything I'm hearing points towards he's likely going to end up at Georgia.
And then why would you not, start Arch Manning in year 1? You know what I'm saying? Like, it would be really hard. I get it. Like, he's not going to get a easy pass. Like, he's going to have to earn the starting position. But between him and Stockton, like, I would take a Manning hands down every time, and that's just me personally. So that's where Stockton, that's why I think he's falling. I don't know if I'm the only one that thinks like that. I'm sure there's others that's just like, I got to see where Arch is going to go, and then I could probably do it, but it's too late. Your freshman draft has already happened, so you have to make that decision ahead of time. So that's where I sit with Stockton. That's why I'd probably take Wyman, just because eventually, you have to have a starter there. Haynes King's not there much longer. I like Mitch is saying, I think A&M could come around because I think Jimbo is finally getting on board with the newer style of the NCAA. I get it that he, we said it, to exhaustion that he likes to sit his freshmen early. I don't think that's the case anymore, and we saw some of that in the spring game with Stewart. So I think Wyman is going to find his way on the field sooner than later. And Stockton, I would take later, especially if you think he's going to go to maybe a smaller school or just a different, like if he lands in an ACC school. If he went to Pittsburgh, yes, please. I would definitely love that, like regardless without Addison, Mumph and stuff like that, I would gladly take Stockton if he was going to Pittsburgh.
How about at wide receiver, the guys that are left? I'm surprised that both of the young Clemson guys made it all the way. That's those would be the 2 guys that I would say if I'm picking soon, I'm picking both those. Am I wrong here?
Antonio Williams is on my big board. He probably would have. I probably would have picked him in this next round. Adam Randall, I think I probably would have waited until probably the 5th round before I took him. Again, unfortunately, injuries takes away an entire year. You only get a certain number of years with these guys, especially at a big program like Clemson. Those guys are built to be gone in 3 years. So that's already a third of your time taken away right there. I'd much rather go after somebody else.
CJ Williams, maybe?
Crowded at USC. That's where I get scared. Transfer city.
And I would say we know Lincoln's not afraid to bring in transfers. So we'll see.
I'm just going based on 5-star ability, a 4-star guy, but still. But the Clemson, Antonio Williams, I think he slid a little too far in this draft.
He was going to be up.
If he enrolled early, I would have taken him by this point, probably.
True. Yeah. He's got incredible talent, though.
What do y'all see at running back? The running back that I only had one more on my list was Ott. Was on my list, and Levy and Moss. So who do y'all got?
So Levy and Moss, again, going back to me, the system guy, Levy and Moss, A&M has produced. If there's one thing we can't knock A&M over the past couple of years, it's been the running back position. Spiller, A-Chain, not Travion Williams, that's who it was. They've been bona fide CFF studs. So why not take a shot on Moss? The thing that concerns me about Moss is the fact that, again, A&M's recruiting has skyrocketed. It would not surprise me if they over-recruited him. So I'm a little concerned there. The other name I really want to throw out here, Zach Evans. No, not that Zach Evans. Zach Evans going to Minnesota. Three-star running back, 5'9", 200 pounds. Again, we all want to know who's Mohamed Ibrahim after Mohamed Ibrahim is gone. And Trey Potts looks like that guy, but health concerns have unfortunately arisen there, and we can't quite rely on him like we thought we could. And then a large chunk of that Gophers running back room transferred out this year. Kai Thomas, Cam Wiley, Marquise Irving, all gone. So that leaves plenty of opportunity for the newest face in town, Zach Evans. Evans doesn't have breakaway speed, but really neither does Ibrahim if you really watch him. And Evans is a full-on bruiser back that punishes those who wish to bring him down. He's the kind of player that can take on 30 carries a game, and especially once he bulks up north of his current 200 pounds. To me, he was the most impressive back at Minnesota's spring game. Again, we didn't get to see Ibrahim or Potts in that game, but he was the most impressive back there, and I think he's heir apparent to the Minnesota running back room afterwards.
Yeah, name I'll throw out there before we get ready to wrap this up is DeAnthony Gatson going to Louisiana Tech. I think he's climbing pretty quickly. When Nate starts telling me, like, hey, he's on my board, and I thought I could sleep on him and stuff like that. So if I'm hitting on Nate's guys, who he keeps pretty secret for the most part, then I know I'm on to something. And I saw it. I was like, the kid punishes. He's going to a school. He had a shot at P5. He just chose to want starting time because he wants to have tape. You know what I'm saying? Like, why wouldn't you not do it? So we're talking about a ball hog. We're talking about a guy that could possibly get it done quickly.
You touched on it there, Brandon, but I do want to throw this out there for people. I get asked all the time. They're like, oh, who are some G5 guys? Who are some G5 guys? Yeah. You want to find a G5 guy that is likely to get you starts early and is going to be a talented guy, look at their offer list. Find out which ones were getting offered by the big schools and chose to go to a smaller school. Exactly. That is a major, I'd say, green flag for a lot of these guys, is if they choose to go to that school rather than they felt like they were forced to because nobody else really wanted them, if that makes sense.
Yep.
So one last guy for me at running back, the ultimate zag, because our number one selection was Singleton.
Allen.
Is Katron Allen.
Yeah, he's getting
just keep waiting in your draft. And when it gets to like that 6th or 7th round, just take the guy who's behind the number one guy. I watched his tape again this morning. I was like, damn, I wish this guy went somewhere that he wasn't right behind the dude. But just you brought up Kamara Wheaton. Man, just because you're 5 stars doesn't mean you hit every time.
True.
John Emery could finally hit. This will be the third chance that he gets to finally. Yeah. Man, I think you could pick Katron Allen and have zero investment in a running back one. There's a 7-8% chance. And again, that doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're in the 100th pick, if you can get a 4-star running back that's really only behind one guy who someone like Singleton could get snapped up by Alabama or Georgia, just like that.
True.
And then you have a guy who's awesome in a good system and has everything that Jared said about a number one pick in the 7th round. So don't sleep on zagging. I talk about that all the time when everybody picks one pick. Don't be afraid to invest almost nothing in a guy right behind. Levy and Moss, we talked about him. We didn't talk about LJ Johnson, who was supposed to be that guy, and he's not. He didn't even play in the spring game. But word is he wasn't even on sidelines. So, like, you got a guy who could immediately do it. We thought Johnson was going to be the guy. Now we think Moss might be the guy. Don't sleep on Allen. It could be a great zag.
I agree with you 100%. Allen is a good pick, especially once you get into that round 7-8 range. Yeah. I'd take him a little bit earlier than that, but I agree with you that he's absolutely a value.
I know we don't talk about it often in CFF because it's more of a thing in NFL, but you should take the handcuff of the stud, because if he goes down, if you have the replacement and the system is right, it's just business where, picking off where business, is there as well. Not saying that Singleton is injury prone or anything like that, because I haven't seen it personally, but why not? Especially if you can get Allen at a big difference. You're not hurting yourself. I'm saying not having to take it on 1 or 2. So.
Jared selected Jaden Blue. Having a 5-star handcuff? My gosh, that's just a guy who's an heir apparent, a 5-star guy. He's behind a guy who, if Bijan gets nicked up this much, his agent, and I know they're not supposed to have him, his handlers will say, shut it down for the year. And if you're in a redraft league, please be thinking Bijan may not be there for you in the playoffs, because he could easily throttle it down if they're not contending for a championship. And that's why Jaden Blue is even a greater pick than we discussed earlier. Great episode, fellas.
Oh, this is fantastic. I know we went long, and I know we kind of peer pressured you to go into third round.
That's all right. Content's here for everybody. I love it. It's for the people. And if the people want a third round, they're going to get a third round. This has been fantastic. I love getting the band together, guys. I think we should probably do maybe one more. We'll do like rounds 4 through 7 or something. Let's see if we can give them some value on the way. By then, maybe in a couple episodes or so, there might be some value up and down depending on the transfer portal, more news coming out, stuff like that. And then we're going to talk about some 2023 guys. So we'll see these guys, whether individually or together. We'll talk it up as well. Plenty of guys coming up in the 2023 freshman class, which means the class of 2026. That's going to be absolutely fantastic, and guys that you want to have on your team as well. Future Freshman Podcast is there to deliver that for you. But I want to give the floor to you guys. Jared, thank you so much for coming on, good sir. Tell them where they can find you. Tell them about what can they expect of the next episode of Chasing the Natty and what you got coming up here for C2C.
Yeah, I covered most of it at the beginning of the episode anyway, but you can find me. I am at CFF_Jared on Twitter. Again, we got the CFF guide coming for you guys. We're really hitting the ground running, getting that to you guys before the season gets started. Very excited about that. In terms of the CTN episode this week, it is a perfect complement to what we were doing here, because a lot of you guys, some leagues separate the supplemental drafts and the freshman drafts. Some of you, they get mixed together. On Monday, you will see an episode of CTN that is going to be covering the top 12 supplemental guys that you could be looking for in your leagues. I got Josh Chevalier on there to talk about it with me. He is an excellent CFF Dynasty player, so look forward to that discussion. And then just overall, y'all, check out the CFF stuff we got going on campus to Canton. We got articles. We got some podcasts between this one and CTN. We got the tools that we're developing, and we got more on the way for you guys. It takes a while to develop these things, but again, some of these things, when they come out, it's going to completely change the way that you're looking at the game, and I cannot wait to get that to you guys.
Absolutely. And, of course, I want to thank the OG and the U-Sports 2005 National Champion, Mr. Mitch Hardt. Mitch, thanks for coming on, man. You got anything cool coming up? Are you just busy being those best balls, and are you just preparing your recruiting strategy for our freshman drafts coming up?
So a bit of advice, again, for people who want to do some research on their own. The state track meets for every state in the United States had just finished. Something really cool and smart for you to do is to look up the results of every 200 and 100 meter dash throughout the country, and look at your rivals list, look at that, and find the kid who took 4th in the 200 meter dash in Minnesota that is going to be the new running back for Toledo. And that's how you can beat the professionals. Because they're doing it all day. And if you don't go to C2C, if you don't check out Brandon's work and Fantasy Nate and John Lobb, you're putting yourself behind. And the only way to catch up is to be original. And that's why you need to look at those speedsters. We talk about the Boise State running back and why he's at Boise. Well, he's at Boise because he's small. And the other kids might not be running 22 miles an hour. They may be at 20.8, but they play in the Sun Belt. Yep. So when going against their competition, sometimes it's not even about the stars, the big fish in the small pond, which I can't stress enough is how to hit a massive home run. Is Terrence Gibbs working out? That's how you win, because he could be ridiculous. But if you want to do some work, Look at that. And always remember, the greatest track athletes are triple jumpers. So if you find a wide receiver who won the triple jump in Nebraska, see where he's playing football and draft him.
I love all of that. So once again, I'm Brandon T. Sanders. You can find me at CFF University. Of course, the Future Freshman Podcast releases every Friday morning. Most times, if it's not, you'll see it on the Twitter sphere as well. Also, the CFFU podcast is coming back in a month or so be ready for a new season, which I'm very excited about. You'll see these fresh faces that I have on the screen as well. We're going to get you some prize picks. We're going to talk maybe a little DFS strategy and who you want to take, or maybe your player of the week that you're hoping that's going to have a big, week as well. So definitely check that out. But until then, be good to one another, and we'll see you next time. Peace.